Hello and welcome back to Supercharge Your Finances, an education series provided by Prosperity Wealth Planning, focused on helping you build your financial knowledge and prepare you for your financial future. My name is Jordan Bromley, and today we're going to be going over understanding your credit. So your credit score. Let's jump into it. So for today's agenda, we want to focus on a few things. Number one, why credit matters. Why should you care about it? Number two is good debt versus bad debt. So not all debt is necessarily going to be considered bad debt that you shouldn't take on. So considering the differences there. Some safe debt guidelines. How can you stay in control of your debt? Make sure that's not anything that's going to be hurting you in the long run. Number four is going to be credit card do's and don'ts. So once you get a credit card, what are some things that you can do? What are things that you should avoid? FICO score breakdown. So as you use your credit, you start building up this score. We're going to talk about what goes into that score, as well as how you can raise it, how you can get a better credit score. And then last, like I said, is going to be how to boost that credit score. So why credit matters? First is, so how you use credit not only has these cost implications in terms of how much you're going to be charged for interest, but it does impact your credit rating. Landlords and employers will often have access to these credit reports or your credit ratings, so it can impact your ability to get a job, so your employment. It can also impact your ability to, say, get an apartment for you to qualify for that. So kind of house and home, right? It's good to have a good credit score. Lenders can view your entire credit history, so your lending, loan, borrowing history, and how likely you are to pay that back. So if you're going for a loan for, say, a car or a mortgage, it can impact your ability to do that, or it can impact just how expensive or cheap it will be for you to get a loan for those things. And lastly, this information is tied to you for years. It's tied to your social security number. So as they go to view your credit score, you want to make sure that that's as pristine as possible because it'll impact you in the long run. So good debt versus bad debt. Not all bad debt is bad debt. There can be smart borrowing that can help you actually reach bigger goals faster. But too much debt can burden you and hurt your future plans. So when it comes to good debt, a big example is going to be mortgage. So home ownership is something that we all want to strive for. It is merely impossible for someone just starting out to get there with an all cash payment. So most people are going to be applying for a mortgage. These tend to be lower rates, so not a high rate as, say, a credit card. And as you pay off this mortgage, you start building up equity in that home, which in turn is going to become something on your balance sheet. So it's going to become an asset for you through that mortgage. For student loans, that is something that you're also investing in yourself. So really just increasing your own future earning power. So also idea of good debt, depending on the interest rates and how expensive the school is. So you want to keep that in mind. Bad debt, the number one example is going to be having and maintaining a high credit card balance. So those tend to be very high, often predatory interest rates if you have and maintain credit card balances. So if you do have a credit card, it's important to pay that off every month fully. Auto loans is something that's kind of on the edge there, but it can be depending on the price of the car, the interest rate you get. But auto loans, sometimes you can pay in full, buy a used car. If you do end up getting a loan, oftentimes you're just starting out for a used car. Auto, for example, cars can help you get to work, right? So that can also increase your earning power in the future. Safe debt guidelines here in the upper right-hand corner for 28% is essentially what we want to target as the high watermark for housing debt. So if you're looking for taking out a loan for a home, or say even buying an apartment, so how much should you actually spending on housing? It turns out that it's roughly about 30%. So say you make $100,000, about $30,000 would be what you could afford on an annual basis for an interest payment for a mortgage or maybe an apartment payment. So that's about $2,500 a month if you're looking for kind of a number based off of a $100,000 income. That is the high watermark. So anything you take out that's going to be less than that, you're just going to be thanking yourself in the long run because you're not going to have to pay as much for your housing. All debt, so everything included, including that housing debt, if you add anything on top of that for, say, a student loan, for anything else like a car, then we want to have that high watermark at 36% of your income. Again, anything lower than that, you're going to be thanking yourself. So when it comes to 30% or less, you're in good shape. Between 31% and 36%, you're still doing okay. 37 and 40%, you're on the borderline, you're in that danger area. And then if you are, say, leveraged over 40%, so 40% of your income is going to pay off a loan, that's in the danger area. You really want to take a microscope to your finances and find a way where you can save more money. Credit do's and don'ts. So on the do side, once you do have a credit card, you do want to shop around for the right card. So lots of them out there. Find one that has the right features, rewards for you. So there's a trade-off of how much you pay for the card versus the features and rewards that you get. So depending on what you like spending money on, make sure that you get the right card for you. Make sure to pay off the balance on time every month so that way you don't pay anything in interest. Know the minimum finance charge. So say there's a month where maybe forget to pay the balance on time, just how much will that cost you in terms of interest? These credit cards can get up to 10, 12, 20, 24, 25%. So make sure you know just how much the finance charge will be on that credit card. Consider using your credit card for emergencies only. Credit cards can be good if you pay them off every month. If you find yourself kind of forgetting, or you know yourself, you know that you won't be able to do that every month, in that case, use it only for emergencies. It's kind of in that case scenario where I would say using credit card for emergencies makes sense. Lastly, again, keep track of your credit card purchases each month, pay it off. Credit card apps will often show you what all those charges are and will spread that out for you over time so you can track yourself and your payments there. So try and get onto the credit card app, see what your purchases are for every month. Don't pay late bills, don't pay interest. Also, don't use a credit card for purchases less than $10. This one I'd say is kind of in line with that. Consider using your credit card for emergencies only. If you know yourself and you tend to rack up a credit card bill, then you can think about not using credit card for purchases less than $10, but that's kind of the area where I'd think about using this strategy. The last one is, again, don't carry a balance. So pay off that balance, don't pay interest. Here's an example of why you want to pay off that credit card and not pay interest. So take this use case scenario of original debt of $3,000. Say that interest rate is a higher interest rate of about 14%. If you only pay the low monthly payment, kind of minimum of about $100 a month, that will take you 36 months to pay off. So that's just over 3 years. And you will have paid in that time an additional cost of interest on the $3,000, $700 and about $14. So an added cost of interest. So the actual expense would be $3,714. So that's a reason to avoid paying interest, is not to pay for, not to make something more expensive than it actually was. For understanding your credit score, so this is your FICO score. This is what the credit agencies, lenders are going to be looking at when they're trying to determine if you are a trustworthy borrower. So anything above 800 is considered exceptional. Anything between 740 and 799 is very good, so you're above average. Between 670 and 739, you're about average. You're a dependable borrower, but there may be some people that take notice of that. Between 580 and 669, this is below average. So lenders will take a look at this. They might not approve you for a loan, for a car loan, for a mortgage, for whatever you're using credit for. 579 and lower, you're considered to be poor credit. That's a risky borrower for someone who's trying to lend you money. More than likely, you're going to be turned down for any new loan, any new credit that you're looking to take on. So how is that credit score determined? So what goes into that 800, all right? Because we're all going to be at 800 or above. Well, it breaks it down into 5 different categories. There's different weight on different categories. So on the left-hand side here, 30% of that score is based off of your payment history, so how often you're making those payments on time. 30% is based on how much you owe. So going back to that 28% rule or the 36% rule, just overall, how much do you tend to hold in debt? 15% is based off of how long you've been using credit. So they take a look at your entire history and how long you've been paying off a credit card, paying off a mortgage, paying off a car payment. 10% is how number of new credit accounts and applications. So how often are you actually applying for new credit cards? And 10% is going to be the types of credit that you use. So there is a bit of spreading it out over different types of credits: credit card, mortgage, auto loan, things like that. So when it comes to how do you boost your score, well, we're going to look at these 5 different categories again. And these are the ways that you can boost your credit score to get up to that 800 and above. So 35% on the left-hand side here is going to be pay your bills on time. I mean, we've spoken about this ad nauseum already, but make sure that if you do carry a credit card and make charges on there, that you pay it in full balance, the full balance at the end of the month. For 30%, keep your credit card balances low. They recommend 25% of the credit limit on your cards. These cards have different credit limits, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Try and keep the actual credit limit there on a monthly basis at a low, so below 25%. So increase your credit length history as well. So get a card, start using it, pay it off in a month, get a mortgage when you can, have a car loan, right? Start paying off these things and building up your credit history. Minimize the frequency of new card requests. So that's 10% that goes into that. So if you have a card, stick with it. Don't go for the new fad card. Don't go for the, the grocery store new card or the clothing shop new card just to get 10% off on your next purchase. So limit the frequency of going into these new credit cards. And lastly is keep a combination of different debt types. So like we said, mortgage, paying off your credit card every month, school loans, and where possible, a car loan. So just spreading out across different credit types. So that's how you boost your score. And that's it for today for understanding your credit. Any other questions, feel free to reach out to anyone on the Prosperity Wealth Planning team or email us at info@prosperitywealthplanning.com or visit us at our website at prosperitywealthplanning.com. Thank you so much.
Past performance is not indicative of future results. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Prosperity Wealth Planning, LLC is a registered investment advisor located in Irvine, California. Prosperity Wealth Planning may only transact business in those states in which it is registered or qualifies for an exemption or exclusion from registration requirements. The information in this video should not be construed as a substitute for personalized individual advice from Prosperity Wealth Planning. Information is for educational purposes only and is not intended to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Prosperity Wealth Planning is not a CPA firm or law firm and does not provide specific tax advice, legal advice, or estate planning services. You should consult with a qualified tax professional or attorney for tax or legal advice before implementing any strategy discussed herein. The opinions expressed by our firm or its supervised personnel herein are subject to change without notice. The opinions referenced are as of the date of publication and are subject to change due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass.